Hey guys, this is Sean with Sport Optics, the best optics dealer online in the world, hands down. We're going to be talking about magnification today and why you need what you need.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to consider when choosing your magnification. A lot of people tend to think that they need more magnification than they usually really do. Obviously, how far you're going to be shooting is generally going to be your number one concern when deciding. But we're going to get into all that, and we're going to help you figure out exactly what you need for your use.
So kicking it off, we have we have three examples. We have a 1:6, which is like your low power variable optic. We have a 3-15, your medium range, and then we have a 5-25, your high-end range. So, there's all different types of magnifications in between those. These are the ones that we have that we're going to be showing to you today. So the 1:6, we'll start off with that one. That's going to go on typically your AR, and some people even put them on special purpose rifles like a bolt action 300 blackout that you're going to be shooting subsonics with, something like that. Point being, you have one magnification, which is so important because you shoot with both eyes open at one power, doubling your field of view, doubling your situational awareness, everything that comes around with being able to see more. So, of course, you don't want a ton of magnification for something like that. They make 1:6s, 1:8s, 1:10s. Those are just nice to have. A 1:6 is a great solid option for an AR or a special purpose rifle.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with everything Sean just said. I have several ARs set up with LPVOs. I think you do as well. It does absolutely excellent on that type of platform because of the ability to go down to one power, and also because of the effective range of the 5.56. These really have all the magnification you're really going to need. The general rule of thumb I kind of go by, this is kind of a personal rule. I'll tell customers this sometimes. Generally, for every 100 yards that you're trying to see or shoot something at, it's nice to have about 2 times magnification. Now, there are exceptions. There are times when you may need more or less. There's always going to be variables at play, but that's kind of a good general rule of thumb to start out at when you're deciding how much power you're gonna need based on how far you're going to be shooting something at.
So let's cut to some footage we have of this 1:6 in action. We're going to hook up our phone to the phone scope so you can see a first-person view of exactly what it looks like looking through one of these optics. So as we can see here, we are at 1 power, and it's going to offer a nice wide field of view. And this is the MOA reticle in second focal plane. So as you zoom in, the reticle is going to remain the same size. So now we're at 2, 3, 4, 5, just about 6 power now. And as you can see, you get to see a lot more detail on the target. And, it's everything that goes along with having more detail. You can have better target identification. You can confirm how many points does this buck have. It's always good to have more detail. So that first target we were looking at was at 35 yards. Now we got, what is it? What is it out there? You can't quite tell because we're still at 1 power. It's at 75 yards out there, but let's crank it up, see what we're looking at. It's Wile E. Coyote himself. And as you zoom in to 6 power, you can tell it's definitely a coyote. You can see the difference in the color of the fur, and the coyote's looking right at you, and he's like, hey, come on, shoot me before I eat your dog.
So the next category that we're going to be talking about is our medium power scopes. You have a lot of magnification ranges that'll kind of fall within the medium range category. A 2-10, 3-15, 3-18, 4-20, maybe a handful of others. For our specific one that we're going to be using as our example today, this is a 3-15 by 44, and I would consider this to be kind of your, there's no such thing as a do-all range, right? Just like there's no do-all rifle, you hear that term thrown around a lot, but this is almost about as close as you're going to get for something that you can do a lot of different things with. If you have it cranked all the way down to the lowest power, 2 or 3 or whatever it happens to be, you're still going to be able to take relatively close shots if you needed to, And then if you have it cranked all the way up to its higher range of power, 15 or 18, somewhere in there, realistically for most people, if you kind of know what you're doing and you have decent conditions, you're going to be able to hit a target at any reasonable distance, shoot even out to 1,000 yards if you needed to in this magnification range.
Yeah, just like Chase was saying, you can really do a ton with this magnification range. A lot of these are going to be going on hunting rifles. People like their wide field of view on the low end and then zooming in to get good details and making sure this is the animal I definitely want to take, whether you're counting points on a buck or something. This is definitely going to be your option for that one. So they have, like you said, a bunch of different magnification ranges that fall into this. Nightforce makes a great 2.5 to 20. Nice wide field of view on the low end and high detail on the high end. And there's a ton of other manufacturers that do the same thing. Swarovski makes a 2.4 to 12. That's excellent as well. Really, every manufacturer is going to carry something that's going to do exactly what you want for a hunting situation. So this could go on, obviously, a hunting rifle or an AR-10. You know, you have a 308 that you really want to shoot out to considerable distance, medium to long range. You know, you're going to want something that's going to have enough magnification to get you out there, but also a wider field of view if there's something that comes up on you real close. So that's where the medium power variable range really comes into action.
Yeah, it's all around just really, really solid. You have what may very well be the most options in this kind of magnification range as far as reticles go, as far as turret types go. You have a lot of options with both capped and exposed turrets. You have options in first and second focal plane reticles with intelligent and simple reticles. You get a lot of, like Sean said, hunters. You even get a lot of mill guys, even some target shooting guys. Just a lot of people tend to gravitate towards this medium power range because it just is so versatile.
So I got a silly story when I was really new into this industry. I went to a gun show at around late teens, and I didn't really know anything about optics. I had my first AR, and I was like, well, let me throw something on it. So I went to a gun show, and I bought a 15 to 60 power magnification range scope for it, because I said, oh, I want all the magnification I can get. You know, that's kind of the knee-jerk reaction when you don't know too much about the industry. And yeah, I quickly learned that you cannot really do anything with that. You can do bench rest shooting with that. That's probably about it. But cons of something like this, you know, if you were to put this on something that you're going to be shooting mainly, you know, 15 yards and in, or, you know, like a 22 rifle or something like that, you probably wouldn't want something like this for hunting. Close range, very close range hunting, like squirrels in your backyard. You would probably want something along the lower variable power optic, you know, like your 1 to 6 as we were talking about. But, you know, something like this has a lot of application for medium to long range.
So once again, just like with the 1 to 6, we have the phone scope on this guy so you can see exactly what you're gonna see when looking through this, and so you have a really good idea of what to expect. All right, so we see here a target that's about 18 by 18 inches we have set up at 35 yards. We're on our lowest power, so 3 power here. You see that you have plenty of enough information and amount of the target to take a shot, and then as we zoom in, we get all the way to 15 power, and bam, we have essentially the whole target taking up our field of view. We have more than enough information. So that just goes to show that obviously this is a little bit of an extreme close distance, but it still gives you a good idea that you tend to not need near as much power as you think you do. Now, if you're just trying to PID something, especially if it's a smaller target, this would be great for doing something like that. But to take the shot, you don't necessarily need that much power. All right, so here we are again, 3 power on our life-size coyote target at 75 yards. You can see plenty enough power to make that shot if we needed to. And then we zoom all the way into full power, obviously more than enough. And then you can imagine on something like a deer, you know, a deer would look about like this, would look at twice the distance or even farther. So at this power, plenty enough than you would realistically need, but it's there if you need it.
So next up, we have the high power scopes. So this is your 5 to 25s, your 7 to 35s. I mean, I guess you could even go into saying things like 15 to 55 or 15 to 60 power. Those are special purpose, but you know, for bench rest shooters, shooting holes inside of holes at closer ranges. But for the long range guys, 5 to 25 is like your general do everything long range kind of scope. You know, you're shooting, I want to get out to 1,000 yards, you want a 5 to 25. I'm doing target shooting out to a great distance, 5 to 25. So, of course, you're not going to have a wide field of view at the low end. You're at 5 power, which, you know, for your application, if you're doing precision rifle shooting PRS, or, you know, you're just a guy who has access to a lot of land and wants to shoot as far as he can, a 5 to 25 is probably going to be what you're going to want to get. The more power you have at greater distance that you're looking at, the more you're magnifying and amplifying all of the debris and mirage and distortion, dust, anything that's in the air between yourself and the target. That gets really bad looking when you crank it up to maximum power. So, you know, depending on what your application is, a 5 to 25 for long range shooting can be exactly what you need.
Yeah, you're definitely going to see the vast majority of this category of users using exposed turrets with usually, it could be first or second focal plane reticle, but generally a more intelligent reticle, either, you know, a Christmas tree type system or at least some X and Y axis hash marks. You're not going to see a whole lot of hunters using this. While you do sometimes, of course. There's always exceptions to every rule, right? You get guys that just, you know, they're dead set on having as much magnification as realistically possible, or guys that, like Sean talked about earlier in the video, maybe you're older, your eyes aren't as good as they once were, and you really want to get up on top of something. Hey, I get it. You know, there's merit to that, but this higher magnification range is definitely more suited towards target shooting type use. Your competitors are all going to be running something in this power, and even mill guys that are, you know, maybe not necessarily needing to take shots at the higher magnifications, but are using the higher magnifications to PID stuff.
And this is where you really start getting into reticle choice. So generally the people shooting PRS are going to have a Christmas tree style reticle. You know, it's going to have sort of that grid look to it, and reason for that, there's a bunch of reasons for that, but the coolest reason is you take your first shot, you might miss, you see the impact on the reticle, the poof of dust, you know, whatever your background is of where your bullet impacted. You look on the grid where that impact was, you shift that part onto your target and take a quick follow-up shot. Hopefully wind conditions and whatnot haven't changed, and you should hit your target after that. So that's when you do a lot of fast shooting. Those guys who aren't even dialing, those people who are just using the reticle, that's really impressive to watch someone do that fast.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty cool, and those reticles do a great job of helping with that. And like Sean said, there's so many options in choosing a reticle. It can, you know, be pretty overwhelming. Every different brand is going to have their own version, and that's another place where we come in. If you have any questions or having any difficulties deciding on reticles, need to know more about reticles in detail, give us a call. We mess with this stuff all the time, and we're happy to spend as much time with you as you need.
So let's talk about why you wouldn't want a high power variable optic. Let's say you're just shooting anything that moves in your backyard. Classic American tradition. Unless you got 1,000 yards or, you know, less than that. But if you have a typical backyard where you don't have a lot of distance to look out onto, being stuck at the lowest power being 5 is a little much. You know, you wouldn't want that for your typical hunting 22. That's going to be on your precision rifle practice 22. I don't want to blow through my expensive ammo to practice long range. I want to use my 22 ammo. You would want to use a 5 to 25 for your target scope, but not for your hunting scope. Same thing goes with something like, again, a 300 blackout in, you know, whether it is supersonic or subsonic. You're not going to want to stick something like this on that.
Yeah, and not only for the reasons that Sean just mentioned, but also there's a size and weight consideration that goes with scopes like this. As you can tell, it is larger than the first two scopes we looked at, and by association, it's going to be a little heavier. So for guys that are trying to be weight conscious, if you're out west, rucking in the hills, up and down, the whole ounces equals pounds, pounds equals pain type thing, you're going to want to consider something that's going to be a little smaller, a little lighter, which, of course is going to come with, a little less magnification, but it's still going to be able to get the job done.
So let's take a look at what this looks like through the phone scope, from 5 all the way up to 25 power. All right, so we are looking at the 5 to 25 rifle scope now. We started at 5 power, we're at 35 yards here, cranked it all the way up, now we're at 25 power. As you can see, this is also a first focal plane reticle. The reticle is going to increase in size as you increase the magnification. And the advantage of that, of course, is the subtensions are going to be true regardless of what magnification you have it set to. So awesome for target shooting. We're going to back out there, give us a wider field of view. And now we're back at 5 power at 35 yards. All right, now we're looking at the Coyote at 75 yards at 5 power. And you can't really tell what the reticle looks like right now because of the background, and that's the disadvantage of a first focal plane reticle. It's hard to read the reticle at low magnification, but as you crank it up, the reticle is going to get larger. You can read it now, and you can see Wile E. Coyote in much greater detail. You can see, of course it's not a real coyote, but if it was, you could see the individual hairs, but you can definitely see a lot more detail there in the fur. And man, that guy's just looking at you like he is angry, and you really got to take him out. He's mean mugging you. That's no good. He's going to kill your chickens. He's going to just destroy your farm. No bueno.
So as you can see, based on everything we've looked at and talked about today, optics are quite a spectrum. There are plenty of options to choose from, plenty of variables to consider, and that is exactly what we're here for. Sean and I mess with this stuff all day, every day. We're happy to talk to any of you guys at length and help you pick out exactly what optic is going to fit your application.
So, like, subscribe, let us know in the comments section if you like this Master Glass series, and let us know what you want to see next from us. And we're always happy to talk to you. We'll see you next time.
God bless.